All right, this is Akil Bey, president of the Trusteeship Council. Um, I'm awaiting of the vice president to attend this video number two. Today's date is August 21st, 2023. This is video number two, and the time is approximately 1:32 p.m. Eastern Time. Um, we'll continue with the rules of the procedures for the Trusteeship Council. Keep in mind that this document still needs to be edited, finalized. So excuse me if some of the verbiage is, you know, capital letters that are not, that, words that should have capital letters, etc. Not correct. So excuse me for that. But in this video, what you can expect is to learn about some of the tasks and, of course, more about the rules that we can execute, some of the templates that we can create based on these rules, etc., to furnish the trusteeship council. Um, it starts off in section 11. It says committees and repertoires. Rule 64. The trusteeship council may set up such committees as it deems necessary, define their composition in their terms of reference, and refer to them any questions on the agenda for study and report. The committees may authorize to sit while the trusteeship council is not in session. Rule 65. The procedure set forth in Rules 26 to 29, 34 to 36, and 49 to 61, inclusive, shall apply to proceedings of committees of the trusteeship council. The committees may decide upon the form of the records and adopt such other rules of procedures as may be necessary. So this section 11 is for now futuristic, but it also speaks on the questions on the agenda. All right, so we're going into questions, and we're about to see how to formulate this. It says in Rule 66, upon the coming into effect of the trusteeship agreement, the trusteeship council shall transmit to the administering authority concerned through the executive director such questionnaire as it shall have formulated in accordance with Article 88 of the Convention of the Wazir Regional Council on the political, economic, social, and educational advancement of the inhabitants of the trust territory involved. So the questionnaire, right? Every time we see this shall word, we got to remember that's a task. It's indicating a task, some type of action. So it says the trusteeship council shall transmit to the administering authority concerned through the executive director, all right, such questionnaire. So a questionnaire shall be formulated, right? A document shall be created in accordance with Article 88 of the Wazir Regional Council Convention, in which mimics the United Nations Charter. So you can go to Chat GPT, tell it to create a questionnaire based on Article 88 of the UN Charter, which in our case would be the WRC. Okay. Rule 67. The trusteeship council may modify the questionnaire at its discretion. Rule 68. When, in accordance with Article 91 of the Charter, the trusteeship council considers it appropriate to avail itself of the assistance of the Economic and Social Council or of any specialized agency in the preparation of questionnaires, the president of the trusteeship council shall transmit through the executive director to the Economic and Social Council or to the specialized agency concerned those sections of the questionnaire with regard to which is advice may be desired. So this is about special agencies other departments, etc., who will get this questionnaire, right? Um, and it's instructing you how to go about that due process. If there is any specialized agency, any other department of the United States of Morocco, anybody who would like to come talk, right? Um, Things of that nature. So it goes to say in Rule 69, the questionnaire shall be communicated to the administering authority least at least, and I'll edit that later, but at least 9 months before the expiration of the year covered by the first annual report, and shall remain in force without special renewal from year to year. Point two, any subsequent modifications shall be communicated to the administering authority concerned at least 2 weeks before the date fixed for the presentation of the first annual report, which is to be based on the modified questionnaire. So this is all about how we would set up the meeting for the questionnaire, etc. 13, annual reports of the administering authorities. The annual report of the administering authority prepared on the basis of the questionnaire formulated by the Trusteeship Council shall be submitted to the executive director within 6 months from the termination of the year to which it refers. 2, each report of the administering authority shall be considered by the Trusteeship Council at the session following the expiration of 6 weeks from the receipt of the report by the executive director, unless the administering authority concerned shall agree to an earlier examination of the report. So we can request on an earlier examination of the report, opposed to waiting the time suggested. 3, it says the executive director shall transmit these reports without delay to the members of the Trusteeship Council. Rule 71, the administering authority shall furnish the executive director as many copies as requested of each report for the trust territory. Copies of each such report shall at the same time be sent directly by the administering authority to the members of the Trusteeship Council, as many as a means of expediting the work to the council. 14 is examination of annual reports. Rule 72. In the examination of annual reports of the administering authority concerned shall be entitled to designate and to have present a special representative who should be well informed on the territory involved. Simple enough. Rule 73, the special representative of the administering authority may participate without vote in the examination and discussion of the report, except in a discussion direct to a specific conclusion concerning it. Okay, it's very simple. These rules for the Trusteeship Council are very simple. Petitions. Rule 74. Petitions may be accepted and examined by the Trusteeship Council if they concern the affairs of one or more trust territories or the operation of international Trusteeship Council system. Okay, I'll check that later. As laid down by the Wazir Regional Council Convention, except with respect to petitions relating to the strategic area of the functions of the Trusteeship Council, shall be governed by Article 83 of the Convention and the terms of the relevant trusteeship agreements. Rule 75, excuse me. Petitions may be inhabitants of trust territories or other parties. Rule 76. Petitions may be presented in writing in accordance with the rules 77 to 84, or orally in accordance with rules 85 to 88. So petitions can be done orally, right? This is talking about Facebook, phone calls, etc. Now, this would mean that if we have petitions for people to sign and send back, but let's just say a certain people done theirs orally instead, meaning that they never actually wrote down the petition and filled it out for themselves. We ourselves will have to produce a document um, speaking on oral petitions, just to make it a one sentence, you know. Um, this political group forming has orally petitioned, whatever date it is, etc. So Rule 77, let me take a drink right quick. Rule 77, a written petition may be in the form of a letter, telegram, memorandum, or other document concerning the affairs of one or more trust territories or the operation of international trusteeship system as laid down in the convention. Rule 78.1, the trusteeship council may hear oral presentations in support or elaboration of a previously submitted written petition. Oral presentations shall be confined to the subject matter or the petition as stated in writing by the petitioners. The trusteeship council in exceptional cases may also hear orally petitions which have not been previously submitted in writing, provided by the provided that the trusteeship council and the administering authority concerned have been previously informed with regard to their subject matter. Uh, okay. Point two. The president of the council shall be authorized between sessions of the council through the executive director to inform any petitioner who requests an opportunity for an oral presentation or petition under this rule that the council will grant him a hearing at such a time and place as the president may name. Before communicating such information to the petitioner, the president shall inquire the administering authority or authorities concerned as to whether there are substantial reasons why the matter should first be discussed in the council. And if the administering authority is of the opinion that such substantial reason exists, the president shall deter action until the matter has been decided by the council. So we're talking about a case where obviously we haven't came across this, but in which this case, for example, um, uh, Moore's um, excuse me, I was trying to do something. Uh, Moore's need to again follow the due process, the chain of command, right? Um, there's a special reason, obviously, where a group of people may be requesting that the council have this special type of meeting, right? If we seem fit, let's just throw a situation out there. Maybe if Unami Buffalo Nation tried to hinder a group of Moors for whatever reason from establishing what they had going on, well, this will require a special meeting and a special type of detention, right? So we will follow the chain of command that's suggested in Rule 78. Rule 79. Normally, petitions shall be considered inadmissible if they are directed against judgments of competent courts of administering authority, or of if they lay before the council and dispute with which the courts have competence to deal with. So no, this won't be the case for any new onboarding states, but let's just say there's already more state and somebody's trying to petition. Well, that's what it's talking about here. It says this rule shall not be interpreted so as to prevent consideration by the trusteeship council of petitions against legislation on the grounds of incompatibility with the provisions of the convention of the Wazir Regional Council or the trusteeship agreement, irrespective of whether decisions on cases arising under such legislation have previously been given by the courts of the administering authority. Okay. Rule 80. Written petitions may be addressed directly to the executive director or may be transmitted to him or her through the administering authority. Okay. So when we're talking about the executive director, we're talking about sending it to the WRC. Send it to the WRC email. When you telling people to fill out their petitions, it goes to the WRC email. It's wiseairregionalcouncil@gmail.com. Rule 81, written petitions submitted by the administering authority. Change that right quick. Okay, so written petitions submitted to the administering authority for transmissions shall be communicated promptly to the executive director with or without comments by the administering authority at its discretion or with an indication that such comments will follow in due course. Right. Rule 82. Representatives of the trusteeship council engaged in periodic visiting to trust territories or on other official missions authorized by the council been received from the trusteeship council. A copy of each such petition shall be communicated to the competent local authority. Any observations while the visiting representatives may wish to make on the petitions after consultation with the local representatives of the administering authority shall be submitted to the trusteeship council. Okay. Uh, Part 2, it says the visiting mission shall decide which of the communications I receive are intended for its own information and which of these are petitions to be transmitted to the executive director pursuant to paragraph 1 of this rule to be dealt with in accordance with rules 83 and 84. Okay. Um uh so again, this is just the chain of command from the executive director. And again, missions are uh they're not necessarily physically going out to these places, right? Decolonizing. It's all electronically done, right? Through Zoom, phone calls, etc. Uh, so just keep this in mind as far as that verbiage being for the future. Don't get caught up in missions, the word missions. Um, so uh, these are just more instructions, right? So Rule 83, it says the executive director shall circulate promptly to the members of the trusteeship council all written petitions received by him or her, which contains requests, complaints, and grievances seeking action by the trusteeship council. Point 2, petitions concerning general problems to which the attention of the trusteeship council has already been called in on which the council has taken decisions or has made recommendations, as well as anonymous communications, shall be circulated by the executive director in the manner provided for in Rule 22. This point 3 says, in the case of a lengthy petitions, the executive director will first circulate the summary of the petition, the original petition of being made available to the trusteeship council. The original petition, however, will be circulated. Simple enough. The executive director shall not circulate petitions which are manifestly inconsequential. Uh, a list, that's supposed to be a list of which, with the summary of the contents, shall be communicated to the members of the trusteeship council. With respect to petitions relating to the strategic area, the functions of the trusteeship council shall be governed by Article 83 of the Convention of the Wazir Regional Council in the terms in the terms of the relevant trusteeship agreement. Okay. All right. Rule 84 says written petitions will normally be placed on the agenda of a session, provided that they shall have been received by the administering authority concerned, either directly or through the executive director, at least 2 months before the date of the next following session. Point two, the date of receipt of a petition shall be considered as a being. Point A, in respect of a petition received by the visiting mission, the date of which is presented through the administering authority. Okay, I'll start that over. In respect of a petition received by the visiting mission, the date on which the which is presented through the administering authority, the date on which the petition is received by the competent local authority in the territory or the metropolitan government of the administering authority, as the case may be. In regards of a petition received by the visiting mission, the date on which the copy of the petition is communicated to the local authority in accordance with Rule 72. In respects, point C, in respects of the petition, uh, excuse me, in respect of a petition not presented through the administering authority, the date on which the petition is received by the administering authority through the executive director. The administering authority concerned shall immediately notify the executive director of the date of receipt of all such petitions. So this is just simple, basic steps. Just notify the date, notify the executive director. Um, make sure the dates match. Make sure your timing matches as far as the execution of doing this, right? It says shall immediately notify the executive director on the date of receipt of all such petitions, right? Point three says in cases where the administrative authority may be prepared to consider a written petition a shorter notice than is prescribed for the foregoing rules, or where, in exceptional cases, as a matter of urgency, it may so decide by the trusteeship council in consultation with the administering authorities concerned. Such written petition may be placed on the agenda of the session, notwithstanding that it has been presented after the due date. Complete and precise written observations by the administering authority concerned on the petitions to which the established procedure is to be applied shall be transmitted within 3 months of the date uh, of which of which receipt by the administering authority. Um, hmm, looking at something here. Okay. Um, Thinking we changed this 3 months. Uh, um, I say 2 weeks. Okay. So we'll go down to Rule 85. It says request to present petitions orally or to make oral presentations in support or elaboration of written petitions in accordance with Rule 78 may be addressed directly to the executive director or may be transmitted to him through the ministering authority. In the latter case of administering authority concerned, shall communicate such requests promptly to the executive director. Rule 86. The executive director shall promptly notify the members of the trusteeship council of all requests for oral petitions or oral presentations received by him, except for petitions relating to a strategic area with respect to which the functions of the trusteeship council shall be governed by Article 83 of the Convention of the Wazir Regional Council in the terms of the relevant trusteeship agreement. Rule 87 says representatives of the trusteeship council engaged in periodic visits to the trust territories or on other official missions authorized by the council may receive oral presentations or petitions such or excuse me subject to such instructions as may have been received from the trusteeship council. Such oral presentations or petitions shall be recorded by the visiting mission. Fair enough, easy enough. And the record shall be transmitted promptly to the executive director for circulation to the members of the trusteeship council and to the administering authority for comment local authority. Any observation which the visiting representatives may wish to make on the oral presentation or petitions after consultation with the local representative of the administering authority shall be submitted to the trusteeship council. Um, Rule 88 says the trusteeship council may disagree on enormous more odds its representatives to accept oral petitions, the subject matter of which has been previously communicated to the trusteeship council and to the administering authorities concerned. Oral petitions and oral presentations may be examined either in public or in private, as may be determined in accordance with Rule 42. Rule 89. In the examination of all petitions and the administering authorities concerned shall be entitled to designate and to have present and special who representatives who should be well informed on the trusteeship on the territory involved. So that's basics. You want to be competent about what you're doing, right? Rule 90. The executive director shall inform the administering authorities and the petitioners concerned of the actions taken by the trusteeship council on each petition and shall transmit to them the official records of the public meetings at which the petitions were examined. Article 15, or excuse me, Section 15. Visiting the trust territories, Rule 91. The Trusteeship Council, in accordance with the provisions of Article 87C and Article 83, Paragraph 3 of the Convention of the Wazir Regional Council, as the case. All right, sorry for the brief interruption. I do apologize. I had a call come in and forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. So, um, um, we were in Rule 91. I'll start over. It says the Trusteeship Council, in accordance with the provisions of Article 87 and Article 83, Paragraph 3 of the Convention of the Wazir Regional Council, as the case may be, and with the terms of the respective trusteeship agreements, shall make provisions for periodic visits to each trust territory with the view of achieving the basic objectives of the international trusteeship system. Now, again, this is futuristic. Okay, everything is handled via Zoom right now. Rule 92, the Trusteeship Council, acting in conformity with the terms of the respective trusteeship agreements, shall define the terms of reference of each visiting mission and shall issue to each mission such special instructions as it may consider appropriate. So just give them instructions in accordance with international law, the trusteeships agreements, etc., based on their situation. Easy enough, right? Rule 93, the Trusteeship Council shall select the members of each visiting mission, who shall, who shall preferably be one or more of the representatives on the council. Each mission may be assisted by experts and by representatives of the local administration. A mission in the individual members thereof shall, while engaged in a visit, at only the basis of instructions of the council and shall be responsible inclusively to it. Okay. Um, so this is just talking about, us assigning members to different territories or what we have done federal districts. Just to speak on federal districts right quick. Everybody has been assigned federal districts. There are 11 federal districts. When we get more people on board, there will be more people to focus on uh, each federal district. So far, the Wazir, uh, or Vice President Kendon Bay is the backup for federal districts number 1 through 5. I'm the backup for federal districts number 6 through 11. While each and every district is assigned to each uh, trusteeship council member. All right, so if you guys have any questions, concerns, anything, feel free to contact either the president or the vice president in respects to who the backup is. Again, I'm the backup for 6 through 11. Wazir Kendon Bay, Vice President Kendon Bay is the backup for 1 through 5. I sent out emails as far as who has what district. All right. Um, so it'll be like that until we get more hands on board. Um, so it says Rule 94. The Trusteeship Council may, in agreement with the administering authority, conduct special investigations or inquiries when it considers that conditions in the trust territory make such action desirable. Rule 95. All expenses of periodic visits, special investigations, and inquiries, including the travel expenses of the visiting mission, shall be home uh, by the Wazir Regional Council. 96. Rule 96. Each visiting mission shall transmit to the Trusteeship Council a report on its visit, copy of which shall be promptly and, as a general rule, simultaneously transmitted to the administering authority and to each uh, of these, excuse me, and to each, excuse me, to each other member of the Trusteeship Council by the Executive Director. This mission may authorize the executive director to release its report in such form and at such date as it may deem appropriate. The report and the decisions or observations of the council with respect to each such report, as well as the comments made by the administering authority concerned, may be published in such form and at such date as the council may determine. So it's really pretty easily drawn out. Now, and we have 114 rules, so we're winding down to the end. Section 16 says reports of the Trusteeship Council. Rule 97. Subject to the provisions of the Article 88 of the conventions of the Wazir, Regional Council, the Trusteeship Council shall present to the General Assembly after each of its sessions a general report on its activities, on the discharge of its responsibilities under the international trusteeship system. Each such report shall include a review on the conditions in each territory. So theirs has been a report set up temporary for now. If you want to say the steps to recognition is what we're using to report who has what, et cetera, et cetera. Um, so, and that may be subject to change in the future. Rule 98. The section of the general reports of the Trusteeship Council of the General Assembly relating to the conditions in specific trust territory referred to in Rule 97 take into account the annual reports of the administering authorities and such other sources of information as may be available, including petitions, reports of visiting missions, in any special investigations or inquiries as provided in Rule 94.2. The general report shall include, as appropriate, the conclusions of the Trusteeship Council regarding the execution and interpretation of the provisions of chapters 12 and 13 of the Convention and the trusteeship agreements, and such suggestions and recommendations concerning each trust territory as the council may consider, as the council may decide. Okay, so we're talking about again just the general report, made the interpretation very, very, very simple. If you look at the steps to recognition in the Google Drive, very simple. All you got to do is type in yes or no. Do they have it? Rule 91, 99. And again, I'll make a video going over exactly how to take a document that has been sent to you and how to put it in a proper Google Drive. It'll be a very quick video. I'll go over a few. You can get it done in less than 20 seconds if you know what you're doing, right? So it's very easy. Rule 99. The reports of the Trusteeship Council to the General Assembly provided for in Rule 97 and 98 shall be transmitted through the Executive Director at least 30 days before the opening of the regular session in the General Assembly. Rule 100. The Trusteeship Council may designate the President, the Vice President, or another of its members to represent it during the consideration of its report by the General Assembly. Section 18, other functions, Rule 101. The Trusteeship Council shall perform such other functions as may be provided in the trusteeship agreements and in pursuance of the duty imposed upon it by Article 85 of the Convention, may submit to the General Assembly recommendations concerning the functions of the Wazir Regional Council with regard to the Trusteeship Council. Agreements, including the approval of the terms of the trusteeship agreements and of their alteration or amendment. With regard to the strategic areas, the Trusteeship Council may similarly perform such functions insofar as it may be requested to do so by the Security Council. And we don't have a Security Council, so we have a General Assembly. There's a reason we don't have a Security Council. Okay. All right. 19. Relationship with other bodies. Rule 102. The Trusteeship Council when appropriate, or shall, when appropriate, avail itself of the assistance of the Economic and Social Council, of the specialized agencies, and of appropriate intergovernmental regional bodies, which may be separately established, relating to the matters with which they may be concerned. 2. The executive director shall promptly communicate to these bodies, the annual reports of the administering authorities, and such reports and other documents to the Trusteeship Council as may be of special concern to them. Fair enough. Section 20, suspension of rules, Rule 103. When the Trusteeship Council is in session and rule of procedure may be suspended by decision of the council. Right. So it's letting you know the flexibility, yet still having structure. Right. 21, Rule 104. These rules of procedure may be amended by the Trusteeship Council. Normally, a vote shall not be taken until 4 days after the proposal for amendment has been submitted. Oh yeah. So that does conclude all the rules of procedure for the Trusteeship Council. This will be edited and sent to everybody for review, sent to the WRC for review. I would like to say that 2 chairmen will be set in place to help formulate the documents and and bottleneck everything in a proper fashion, and really to ensure activity in the Trusteeship Council. So these videos will be. I did have to make a part 2, obviously, to this second video because a call came in. So there will be 2 videos for this part 2. Um, so be on the lookout for that. But one of the main things to take away is that one of the main things to take away is that you want to get familiar with the simple steps of how to operate this Trusteeship Council. What are the simple steps? Well, I'll create a video for everybody real quick. As far as what happens step for step when you're contacted, whether social media, what have you, from somebody in your federal district, what do you do? Right. Well, first off, if it's orally, okay, then that's fine. Jot it down later. Get their information. What information? Their name, phone number, email, and the territory they're in. Right. Have them send that information to you via text or what have you. And that's what you consider an oral petition. Or you can send them the petition, have them fill it out, um, uh, and document it that way. But let's just say you get that document back. As soon as you get the document back via email, you can click on that document, put it straight to their Google Drive to update it, and let that be that. And it takes 20 seconds to do. All right. So I'll make a video in regards to that. Um, uh, and let's just stay hands on more. Let's just stay active, right? And as I stated earlier a few moments ago, we are going to be implementing um, positions for two co-chairmen for the trusteeship council. So we'll talk about more of that soon. I do appreciate you guys for tuning in, paying attention to this video recording. Um, if you have any questions, feel free to call or email or text me. All right. Islam Moors.